Hello, today we will talk with Raman. Raman is the founder of Training Data, and we have known each other for a long time. It seemed to me that the last half of a year has affected the world of labeling in a way that nothing has affected before. ChatGPT, SAM, and a lot of one-shot learning models has been released. I want to discuss with him how this has changed processes and approaches. Uh, so, uh, Raman, hi.
Hi, Anton.
And my first question is about segment anything model. And could you tell me your opinion about this and how do you feel?
Yeah, sure. It was surprised when Facebook implemented this model in open source, and it's change. I think our emotion, like a big emotion. So because it's can speed up data annotation, data segmentation in different tasks, and it's work better than HRNet. So it's like HRNet, but the quality and the fastest the speed of model is will be increase. Yeah.
And how much does it speed up? You mentioned about this.
Yeah, so before segmentation, we use HRNet, and it can increase, for example, two times, three times, but with SAM, we can increase annotations with 10 times. But unfortunately, SAM work only in tasks of segmentations and not in all of domain of data.
And does it speed up like 10 times for example, if we measure the classic labeling when the person will label everything himself and like segment anything, how much it's speed up? Like 10 times, 2 times, or of course a different task, but something.
I think well, 5 times if we measure manual label annotations without optimization. Yeah.
And did it change the orders from customers? Because if you speed up your labeling process like 5 times, probably it's became not so expensive to label completely different tasks and probably different approach. Did it change something?
Yeah, sure. When some client came to us, we make a free pilot and we calculate the metrics, the measure what, for example, budget box in 1 hour our annotators can do. And in this metric depends of the price. So if we increase metrics for 5 times, the price will be cheaper 5 times.
But did it increase like the amount of orders from customers, or it's just like it's it's just they it's about the price or something like this? Because before that, probably customers will not order some labeling with a lot of polygons or something like this. But with SAM, they could afford this. So, or probably they will prefer like this polygon labelings over bounding box labeling. Did it change something in this?
Okay, I get it. I think when customer clients came to us, they have some budget, and when we said that it will be cheaper, they didn't change their budget. They asked us to label more data. For example, with this budget, they want to spend 1,000 images, but if they heard that it will be cheaper, they order 5,000 images.
It's pretty interesting approach because usually when I order labeling, I think not in terms of budget, but in terms of task. And usually, like if I could uh, set up the different task, because some labelings will be super expensive, and sometimes I optimize the cost of labeling by changing to the different task. So I usually think in different way. It's pretty interesting. Probably it's some big clients where they need this
Yeah,
budget.
some big clients have some long time of and they order budget, for example, for the next year, and they can't change it faster like some little startup.
Yes, I get it. Probably some changes will be next year. Okay, and did you create your own tools for this segment anything labeling before I read this in your channel, or did you switch to CVAT because they published this also, I think, a few months ago?
Okay, yeah. When simultaneously created, I think for the next 1 week, all of our tools, for example, SuperVisely, CVAT, and other create our own implementation simultaneously in their own tools. Yeah, and now we use CVAT, computer vision annotation tool, but with our own implementation, because so we create some hacks, some fixes that very useful for us.
And where segment anything model doesn't work from your experience? Because of course it's great, but even I could find a lot of bugs, but you using it like last 3 months, I think you find a lot of problems. What's the most problematic points?
Okay, yeah. If you can see that segment anything trained on 1 million images with 1 billion masks. It's a big data set, but unfortunately, this data set can't cover all of the domain of data, and it's cover some most popular domain, but some rare domain it's not cover. And segment anything very good with some not rare classes. For example, person, some furniture in the your room, but with some rare classes that we don't have in datasets, they work not very good. And if you have some blurry edges, it's don't work good too.
Great. But probably it's only about this class balance, but what about some probably small object, probably some object with some specific shapes? You probably also show me some examples before the call. Could you share and
Okay.
show?
Yeah, let's I share you example how it's work in our tools. So can you see this picture? Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, yes,
Okay, yeah.
yes.
Segment anything, it's a interactive segmentation where you write points, for example. And for example, if you set some points, you have can see that it's not work good, and in some classes it's working good, and it can increase annotations, but some classes it can work worse. And the most problem that some customers asked us pixel perfect annotations. For example, let's zoom and see that in this case we have some errors, and it depends of quality that customer clients require for us. And in cases that clients didn't need some good, very good pixel perfect quality, some really increase your metrics. But if you need pixel perfect annotations, for example, in some medicine sphere, it's bad case, because to label manually it's faster. That's if you use segment anything, and after that replace remake some errors. And I think segment anything work only in some simple classes with not where you don't need a very good quality. Yeah, and it's work very bad with some complicated objects. For example, let's label foreground, and if you if you want a label foreground, it's hard, because there are some artifacts, and you can't label objects with a lot of points. And for these cases, it's manual labeling or labeling with HRNet.
Yeah, yes, I also found a few such classes when I started working with it. Probably, for example, like doors, because door consists of a lot of elements, so it's not possible to label it with segment anything, but of course it's pretty easy to label it with hand. And of course there are a lot such interesting thing. Okay, let's move next, and GPT and a lot of language models. Uh, they, it's like from December, I think, GPT-3 start its work, and I think it's also changed a lot in labeling task. Of course, not computer vision, but different. Uh, how do you feel? What is your thoughts about this?
Okay, yeah. We label and collect data for some clients, and we not only in computer vision. We cover all of spheres, and labeling text is big our market that we cover. And I think ChatGPT changed our work too. But the most popular task in NLP is moderation. So when you see some content and classify it, it's made for rule with not forbidden or forbidden. Yeah, and in this case, there are very big instructions. For example, 30,000 of pages. And we try to use ChatGPT or another big models, and unfortunately, they can't understood all of rules, all of core cases, and another case that's it's private data, and we can't send for ChatGPT, and we now waiting some open source big models, and we are waiting fine tuning large language models, for example. Some LoRa technique, low rank adaptive models, and I hope in this spheres, in these cases, it will be increase quality and speed up of this process. But also we test in some sentiment analysis, some positive, negative cases, and in this task, ChatGPT worked very good. But with some hard tasks, I hope fine tuning will be help us.
And just random thoughts. Did it change the tasks from your customers and amount of orders? Because even I hear a lot of tasks like this reinforcement learning, when you like moderate feedback from ChatGPT or some other language models, and there are a lot of such tasks on the market. Yeah, even I was asked once, like, do we have a lot of programmers to moderate code for that is answer from ChatGPT or probably some different language model? Do you also have a lot of such tasks, or they are not so popular these days?
Okay, when ChatGPT came to us, we think, oh, I think we have lost our job because ChatGPT replaced our annotators. But in a real life, we see that ChatGPT create another market, how to train large language models. And yes, we now have some tasks where our assessors write prompts, compare side by side texts, and it's increase market for data annotations.
Yes, I also think that each new model increases the amount of labeling for training similar models. It's pretty fun. Okay, and I think you already answered all my question about ChatGPT, and my next question was about some powerful labeling combiners like SuperVisely, probably V7, or there are a lot of them nowadays. Uh, does it? They pretty interesting observation that I once made when one of our friend label a new data set. like with all this super powerful technique and so on. And I checked the quality of this data set. It was like terrible because during the labeling, the labeler like very fast label something. And my first thought was like all of these combiners, they sometimes, and automatic labeling and so on, it's labeling to decrease the labeling quality. Of course, in your case, you have like a lot of moderators because before you send the result to client. But what do you think, for example, when you start labeling in such powerful tools, do you have more job for your supervisors or not?
Very good questions. Let's talk about another question. So I see very in our sphere of data annotators, I see very big trend to automatize some work. For example, 5 years ago, there are nothing tool. Some tools was written by some universities, some students, and we don't see SuperVisely and Civat and so on. But now in our market, we have a lot of very good tools that can increase automatization and increase metrics how label. And it's increase the quality and speed. And I compare it's like in agrosphere, 1,000 years, some people have a shovel and they do some work. But now we see excavators, and excavator can increase for 1,000 times. But to work with excavator, you need a profession. You need to complete some courses, so complete make some education. And if you get some annotator and send to excavators, they can't do work good. And for your questions, I think that bad quality with optimizations, it's the reason of this, it's bad education of assessors. And if assessors have make educated, the quality will be good, and the metrics will be higher between manual annotations.
Yes, but the second result, there are a lot of bad data set nowadays in the internet. For example, this RoboFlow set of data set, a lot of them pretty bad, and I don't recommend a lot. It's like a regular question nowadays, could I use this RoboFlow dataset in production? And usually I don't recommend this because like RoboFlow dataset is good for prototyping, but when you work with the real task, like you need pretty good metrics for a lot of tasks. And it's pretty interesting that there will be more and more bad data set in the internet, but of course the only good approach it's like to order such data set from professionals or to spend a lot of time on this labeling. And this situation is completely different that a few years ago. Okay, and speaking of that, how do you think where the labeling is going nowadays? What will be in 1 year? I don't think is it very valuable question because like 1 years ago, no one thinking about this GPT models or SAM, but just some random sorts from extrapolation.
Okay, yeah, our sphere is very fast changed, and yeah, I think the trend it's automation. So I think some new model will be created, some new process, some new tools will be created, and I think the role of assessors will be changed. They will moderate the results of algorithms and replace some errors, and for this reason the datasets will be biggest. For example, in SAM, it's 1 billion masks. It's an incredible number of masks. But if we read the article, how they collect this data, we can see that they label manually little part, the second part they validate, and the another biggest part is automate labeling, and after that they check is it correct or not correct. And I think this process of labeling will be in another cases implemented.
We use this process like 8 years ago for a lot of tasks. So I don't think that this is something new, but yes, probably like productization of this process is pretty valuable thing. And my next question is about how we'll develop like the labeling teams or something like this, because as far as I understand, your team grows like, I don't know, but 10 times for last 2 years. How much labelers do you have nowadays?
Now we have more than 1,000 annotators, and if you ask how we do this, so the three point of good quality data, it's tools, it's people, and the process. And without good process, you can scale your team. And yeah, we have some onboarding pipeline, how we automate tests, train people. We now create a Train Data Academy where we teach some courses for annotators, and it's hard, but it's interesting because the market grow very fast.
Last time we spoke with you, I think it was half a year ago. It was like 400, I think. But yes, but what do you think about this growth? Will it continue? Do you feel like some cap of the market? And how do you think about this?
It's hard questions because I see the trend that, for example, 5 years ago, we need some data labeling. We so hire some people, and after, for example, 1 hour, they do some work. But now I think one good annotators can change 10 annotators without some specific sphere. Yeah, and I think the trend that there will be some specific domain data, for example, lawyers, doctors, medicine, where we don't need a lot of a big team of annotators, but we need some knowledge of them, and we can see some low spheres where we need data for labeling.
Okay, it's pretty interesting. And what about the task? Uh, do you see a new task on the market? Of course, this language models is another idea, but do you see a lot of new tasks like in computer vision, probably some task in audio, because, or do the task is almost the same that was like 1 year ago, 2 years ago? Because in my opinion, for now, it's like pretty fixed already, because I saw the same project over and over again. But like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, there was a lot of new project, new ideas. And how do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that type of tasks didn't change very much, but the proportion of tasks changed. For example, 6 years ago, we see some pre-trained model in computer vision. It's ImageNet and trained on ImageNet and other. And there was a boom of CV. Now we see that ChatGPT language big model came, and now I see trend in texts in NER and other type of tasks. And some new devices create some new tasks. For example, 5 years ago, LiDAR data was very rare, but now it's LiDAR will be cheaper. There are a lot of devices have LiDAR, and now the task of labeling point cloud will be more and more.
Yes, I think also probably some video task will be amount of them is increasing because like there are a lot of good NPU units like neural accelerators for such task, and it's become cheaper to use them in some real life. Okay, thank
I
you
see it.
for. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I see a trend in synthetic data. So I see that in some domain data is very rare, but the progress of some rendering, some utility drivers will be increased, and a lot of clients asked to generate to make some 3D model to use a GAN. Yeah, generate some data with neural networks. It's came to our life too.
Yeah, yes, it's also interesting approach. Like this stable diffusion change a lot of things in my opinion, but I didn't saw any good project that could uh, like use this a lot, like to change everything. Of course, a lot of people have experiments with like stable diffusion to increase the data set, to like to change texture of something, like to append some another guys. But I don't think I didn't saw yet like some great increase through the stable diffusion, but like this. Yes, there was a lot of synthetic data for last year, I think, but I don't like synthetic data because usually for a lot of tasks, like time that you spend on synthetic data is usually more than you spent on labeling. And of course, there are a lot of cases when you don't have the real data, but I don't, for example, for medicine, it's in my opinion, impossible to create good synthetic data for like this ST or some X-ray photos, and but it's always the data. So, okay, thank you very much. I think it was great, and I hope we meet in half of a year or year and discuss a lot of changes on this market. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anton. Yeah.